Welcome once again to this wonderful forum. We are all, I guess, Ghanaians living abroad. And wherever that you are located, I say greetings to you all. But in US here, it's good afternoon. My name is Catherine Kujo, also known as Ski Mama. I am the CEO of the Progressive Alliance Movement. I'd like to tell you a brief, background about Progressive Alliance Movement. Progressive Alliance Movement, for short, PAM, P-A-M, is based in the New York City. Our mission is to promote and engage relationship between Ghanaians living abroad, GLAs for short, and their motherland. To that end, PAM is well known to most of you for bringing the suit in Ghana, whereby the late Justice Anthony Kwadwo Yeboah, may his soul rest in peace, ruled on December 18th, 2017, that Ghanaians or the Ghana's Electoral Commission should register GLAs and have them vote in the 2020 election. The question is, are we going to vote in this year 2020 election? That is what we are here to find out. So at this point, I would like to throw a light on our legal advisor and our speaker. His name is no other than Attorney Samson Ladi Ayinini. If I pronounce your name not correct, forgive me. I have some American accent. He needs little introduction if you watch Newsfile in Ghana. When he is not commenting on current events in Ghana, he practiced law at A Partners at Law, where A is the managing partner in Accra. He is the lawyer who represented PAM in the High Court of Human Rights and won the case for all of us Ghanaians living abroad. Mr. Ayenenin, you are welcome, and please take over the seat. Please unmute yourself.
Upheld the position of the law as regards the representation of the People's Acts, the amendment of the law which provided for Ghanaians living abroad to be registered wherever they are and to participate in the elections of Ghana had been upheld by the Human Rights High Court. And consequential orders were made by the court for a constitutional instrument, that is a CI, to be promulgated in Parliament, of course, sponsored by the Electoral Commission of Ghana, for the purposes of enabling every Ghanaian living outside of the jurisdiction to be offered the same opportunity, which is a fundamental human right, the basis of which all of the organization that you belong to, PAM. The court's decision on the 18th of September 2017 was that the constitutional instrument, which is the enabling legislation to allow for the rules, for the mechanics of how Ghanaians living abroad, such as yourselves, could participate in a registration process, such as the EC conducted in Ghana very recently, would be done and provide the mechanics for that process. Unfortunately, the High Court gave a year's timeline for that to be done. When the time elapsed, the Electoral Commission went back to the courts and pleaded for extension of the time that the court had given it to promulgate the constitutional instruments for the purposes of enabling Ghanaians living abroad to know the mechanics of how to be registered abroad and subsequently how to vote in public elections, particularly the presidential elections coming up on December 7, how to also participate in that from where you live and not having to come to Ghana. They put that application in the court asking for an extension, and they were clear the period of time they required. They required 1 more year. The court granted them the 1 more year. But what that meant was that the CI will be ready and the decision of the courts, which stands unreversed, which stands not varied, which is that Ghanaians living abroad will participate in the elections of 2020, has not been done. As we speak, the Electoral Commission has been informing Ghanaians that it has done its part of the job by making sure that the constitutional instrument is taken to Parliament. I have done my own checks. There is no such constitutional instrument before the Parliament of Ghana. The point of law is that once a constitutional instrument is tabled in the Parliament of Ghana, there are a number of days that it must go through to become matured, and upon maturation, which is 21 days, it becomes part of the body of laws in Ghana. I have tried, I have searched. The Electoral Commission says it has done its part of the job and therefore taking itself away from liability of being sued any further to be compelled to do the work it is supposed to do. The Electoral Commission, by its announcements, is suggesting that if there has to be any further action, it will not be directed at the Electoral Commission because it is not in control of the Parliament of Ghana, which is supposed to pass the constitutional instruments into law. The point of law to note is that once the constitutional instrument is put in Parliament by the sponsor, Parliament does not have a right to change anything in the constitutional instrument. If Parliament wants anything changed, it has to inform the Electoral Commission to withdraw the entire CI, prepare it well, make the corrections, and bring it back. Whatever is laid in the House is what must end up maturing upon the 21 sitting days of Parliament. As we speak, Parliament is not sitting. So clearly, we have a CI 127 that has been passed. The CI 127 that has been passed is a CI that governs the elections of 7th December 2020. That CI provides for a voters register, which is supposed to be exhibited, which has been exhibited, which is supposed to be published, and the Electoral Commission has so published the voters register. First, by handing copies to all the political parties as required by law. And just last week, publishing same on Google, but has been compelled under a controversy to withdraw same. The CI 127 provides and requires of the EC to make available certain lists, a list for special voting, a list of proxy people who are being voted for as proxies. The list or special list that is supposed to be provided clearly does not include a list for Ghanaians living abroad. The normal consequence of a constitutional instrument for the purposes of enabling Ghanaians living abroad to be registered and to vote in pursuance of the court order or the judgment would have been that there would have been another list apart from the special voting list and the list of those who are going to be voting as proxies. There would have been a third list, and that list would have been Ghanaians living abroad who have registered to vote and who have been so approved to vote. Of course, as we know, the polling stations that have been created are 3,300, and they are only in Ghana. They do not go beyond the boundaries of Ghana. If there is any other list of voters who are voting but not in Ghana, they remain the same group that we told the courts that by allowing those Ghanaians living abroad who are on scholarship, who are on mission, who are working with Ghanaian embassies and missions abroad, which we told the court was a discrimination as far as the fundamental human rights of the applicants in this case was concerned, which the court agreed. They are the only ones who are still participating in the elections, despite the claim that the Electoral Commission has been heard to give again about COVID-19 as the excuse for its inability to travel abroad and to bring the Ghanaians living abroad on board to be able to participate in the process. I believe that there's no gainsaying to be going over this issue over and again. I would rather pause and take questions, and in responding to the questions or the comments and discussions that we will have, we should be able to elaborate further on the circumstance leading to our present circumstances, where despite a valid subsisting court order, despite a valid subsisting court judgment of the court, a competent court of jurisdiction in Ghana, we still do not have Ghanaians living abroad registered and for the purposes of voting in the 2020 elections. There's a valid judgment of the court endorsing the registration of Ghanaians living abroad so they will vote in the 2020 presidential elections. Yet that has not happened. That is an aberration. It is such a grave sin against the Constitution and against the established power of the state, that is the court, that gave the judgment.
Thank you. We can't hear you, Key Mama. Oh boy. All right. Everybody heard Samson, I believe. We can't hear you. No.
You can
Okay,
hear
now we hear you. Go on.
Yes. Thank you very much. We all know about technology issue and stuff, but thank you very much, Mr. Ainini, for elaborating what went on about our legal issues in Ghana. Please, if you have any questions, I'll ask you to hold on to your question until all our three speakers have done their presentation. Once again, my name is Catherine Kujo. Sorry for the technical issues that happened early on. At this point, I would like to invite Mr. Frederick Addo, a GLA residing in France. He is the leader of a group that has supported PAM called ROPA Ambassadors. That is their name. We shall ask Mr. Fred to tell us about ROPA Ambassadors and their take why GLAs are not voting in 2020. So, Mr. Frederick, your take on this issue.
Thank you very much, Key Mama, and good afternoon, good evening to those in Europe. My name is Frederick Addo. I represent the ROPA Ambassadors. ROPA Ambassadors is a group of Ghanaians living abroad who decided it is very important to support the Ghana Electoral Commission to implement the ROPA, which has been work by our friends in New York, Progressive Alliance movement for longer years. So the objectives of the ROPA ambassadors is, first of all, to help the EC to have a data in collaboration with the various Ghana missions, and also to give logistical support to the Electoral Commission in terms of human resources and also logistic or even financial aspects. Because in the past years, that various ECs, Electoral Commissions, tried to implement ROPA. We remember Dr. Afrejan said they are having also some challenges in terms of logistics. So we petitioned the Electoral Commissioner. We wrote a letter to the Electoral Commissioner to explain how we can collaborate, help implement ROPA. We also sent one of our delegates in Ghana to meet the Deputy Commissioner, Dr. Bosman, to have a complete discussion how we can collaborate and work together. So our work was to help him, because I think to implement ROPA, it means the various Ghana missions will need trained Ghanaians to help in collecting data through various Ghana associations, community leaders, and also to be trained to register Ghanaians in collaboration with various Ghana missions. I think our request was accepted by the EC, but we never had a positive implementation method how the EC can use the Ghanaians living abroad who has constituted themselves as ROPA ambassadors. So on the 3rd of January 2019, we sent a petition to the EC again to have a written answer, how we can collaborate again, and what is he doing. And we insisted that he makes available the constitutional instrument which gives explanation how he is going to implement. And we also requested that the Electoral Commission selects at least 5 people from the diaspora among the Ghanaians living abroad to be part of the ROPA implementation committee that we couldn't have because the committee was created without any member from the Ghanaians living abroad, which was a deception. So for the meantime, I think I will stop the presentation here and continue later in order to allow the rest of the speakers to also contribute their part. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Frederick, for a wonderful presentation. At this juncture, before I ask our next speaker, I would like to introduce Progressive Alliance Movement board members that are on the platform for you to know them. We have Mr. Kwame Fosu. He's the deputy chair for us. We have Mr. Obedankwa, our accountant. So if I mention the name and you are here, please give us a high five so everyone you know. Thank you, Mr. Obed. We have Mr. David Amano, Progressive Alliance Secretary, PAM for short. Mr. Amano, can I see your hand? Thank you. We have Mr. Ekomaika. Are you in the house? Thank you. We have Janet, Miss Janet Kalon, are you in the house? And we have Reverend Mike Baffo as also a board member. We have Mr. Nasiru, also a board member, Nasiru. And we have Mr. Poku Esubontin. These are a few of our board members. At this juncture, I would like to introduce nobody than Dr. Kofi Entwi-Boateng, also known, let me give you the spotlight, then we go. Also known as Kofi Ropa. He's the reason why we are still fighting for this rights of Ghanaians living in abroad. He is the chairman of PAM board. He has dedicated himself to getting GLAs to vote in Ghana election since 2005. He led the Diaspora Votes Committee to push for passage of the Act 699, Representation of the People Amendment Act, for short ROPA, in 2006. Then in 2017, he led PAM to file and win, remember the winning part, a suit against the Electoral Commission compelling them to implement ROPA. Dr. Boateng will take us through the ROPA and fill in the blanks before we go into our questions and answers. So Dr. Boateng, if you can hear me at this point, over to you.
Thank you very, very much, Catherine, the CEO of very able CEO of PAM. And thank you all the members of the board of PAM. You guys have done a wonderful job, working very hard, dedicating yourself, raising money to fund the Supreme Court, the Ghana High Court case that we brought, which may be leading us to the Supreme Court, listening to our attorney, Samson Anyinini. And thank you, Fred, for linking us with ROPA ambassadors and the wonderful, you were well-intentioned in terms of trying to assist the Electoral Commission and expand their reach around the globe. But sadly, they didn't take you up on your offer, and we're going to talk more about that. I'm pleased to know that one of my daughters, Dr. Adjoa Boateng, has joined us from California, just to show you the interest of our second and third generations in this matter. So it goes beyond us. A lot of Ghanaians living abroad are not just those who came on their own, but also their children and your children's children. So what we are talking about is very, very important. What I want to do is, you hear the expression ropa, and you'll be hearing more about it. So I want to take us back a little bit to explain what it is and how that came about. And then, as Samson said, when we go into the Q&A, we will expand on this a lot more. So by way of historical reference, this is how it goes. We start with Ghana's Constitution of 1992. In Article 42, there's a very simple language in there that says that every Ghanaian age 18 or older has the right to be registered and to vote in Ghana's general elections. That's it. So it says every Ghanaian. It doesn't say every Ghanaian living in Ghana, 18 and older and of sound mind. Those are the only requirements. You have to be 18 and older and you have to have a sound mind. And then what happened? So there was an election in 1992, as you remember. The Constitution came into being around August or May, I think May 1992. And there was an election coming up in December 1992. If you recall, that was when the PNDC was converting into the NDC. And the late leader of Ghana, Jerry Rawlings, was running. So something happened. And what happened was simply this, that per the Constitution, all Ghanaians living abroad were required and supposed and had the right to vote in the 1992 elections, period. And actually, there was nothing to learn, because already ever since Kwame Nkrumah's time, Ghanaians working for the embassies had been voting. They were not voting in person, but they were voting by something called proxy, whereby they give the right for somebody in Ghana to cast a vote on their behalf. But at least they were voting. Their will was being expressed. And so the 92 Constitution enshrined that, and it meant all Ghanaians living abroad at that time had the right to also vote, enlarge it, and vote in the 92 election. But then came, I believe, August 1992, and then something was snuck in, and that something was called Pndc Law 284. What Pndc Law 284 did was to say, well, the Constitution says all of you Ghanaians living abroad can register and vote, but we are going to limit that right to only the Ghanaians who work in the embassies. So that was the Pndc Law representation of the people. That's what it was called. And typical of Ghana, it just went along. Nobody challenged it. Nobody raised the question, wait a minute, why do we have a constitution that has a universal human right, and now we are restricting it to only a few, and therefore discriminating against the wider body, as Samson referred to? Nobody raised any questions. So 92 came and went, the 92 elections, presidential election. 96 came and went. So that's 2 elections that GLAs were not included. 2000 came and went. That makes 3 elections. 2004 came and went. So now we're up to 4 elections, and still nobody said anything. So we pull ourselves together. We record our own proverb that says that nobody drinks bitter medicine for the sick person. So if Ghanaians living abroad, GLAs, those days we used to call ourselves diaspora, where that is not relevant for us. We are not diaspora. We are Ghanaians living abroad. We know where we are from. We are not lost. We are not searching for our roots. We know our roots. We are specific. Yeah, so you'll never hear me use the word diaspora. In fact, I coined the expression Ghanaians living abroad for precisely this fact. So a group of us came together and we sent a delegation to Ghana in 2005. At that time, the parliament was debating to amend the Pndc Law 284. That's why it's called Representation of the People Amendment Act. And we got ourselves involved. We went to engage in debates with everybody who wanted to have any say on the issue. And we won. The parliament passed the amendment in 2006, February 2006, under President Kufuor. But the truth be told, even the government that heralded in Act 699, the ROPA, really didn't intend for it to be implemented. I know this is being recorded and I repeat it. Even the government, which under Kufuor, NPP government, that passed the Act 699 Representation of the People Amendment Act, never intended to implement it. Okay? They did it to showcase that Ghana was being democratic and take money from donor countries to pay for the elections. Therefore, 2008 came. And we were expecting to be included, just like we're expecting to be included in 2020. And again, no. 2012, no. 2016, no. And then what did we do? We reached out and said no. By this time, Progressive Alliance Movement and I joined together and we said, no, we got to take this thing to court. It's taking way too long. A whole 7 election cycles have come and gone and we haven't been voted. This is utter discrimination and it's been discriminately done and intentionally, deliberately done. So we hired lawyer Anyenini. He led us and we were successful, as Catherine said at the opening, on December 18, 2017, and in the Court of Justice Anthony Yeboah, who passed away last October. So we were very hopeful. He was very specific that the Electoral Commission should do 2 things. One, they should compile what Samson explained, the constitutional instrument to lay before Parliament, which simply is the house, where, and what of the voting process. And 2, they should ensure that Ghanaians living abroad vote in the 2020 elections. So the EC, if they say that they have done the CI and therefore their job is finished, they are far from it. They haven't even started. There were 2 pieces. And just like Samson says he hasn't seen the CI, Ham has written an official letter to the Electoral Commission to get a copy of the CI that they claim they've laid before Parliament. And we haven't even received the courtesy of a reply from anybody. So some of the things that Samson was saying are very hurtful. To hear that the Electoral Commission is telling us that they've put a CI before Parliament. One, they won't give us a copy. And then Samson, doing his own investigation, can't even ascertain and verify that indeed there's such a thing as a CI. So that's outright lie. We insisted that for 2020, because of COVID, if we are not going to vote, we, meaning the larger group of Ghanaians living abroad, are not going to vote, then nobody should vote outside, meaning those working for the embassies who have been privileged to vote through all these cycles. And now we are hearing from Samson, and I hope you will expand on this, that they may still be allowed to vote because they are the lists that they have been given in that CI 127 includes them. And Samson, please explain that further to us. If that's the case, then PAM and ROPA ambassador, we have some work to do between now and December 7th. I'm going to conclude here also and ask others to join in and we can expand on this. But what I want to leave with all of us is that our country, to which we send more than $5 billion a year consistently to undergird the economy of Ghana, has been lying to us. Our country has intentionally discriminated against us. And for this, I don't exclude any political party, be them called NPP, be them called NDC, CPP, all of them together have joined and banded together and are united in discriminating against us. We have to continue to come together, my dear Ghanaians living abroad. We have to fund this. Don't leave this all to the burden and headache of Progressive Alliance movement. All of us must chip in. If we don't push it, just like I said, nobody drinks bitter medicine for the sick person. If we don't push it and let them hear from us and about us, it will never happen. There have been eight elections in the 28 years since the Constitution of 1992, counting 2020, that we have not been included. And guess what? Nobody cares. Just like we took a delegation to Ghana to make noise and then we got Access 99, we have to start thinking about that one more time. Thank you all. Catherine again.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, take it over.
Yes, I have taken over. Thank you very much. And thank you, Lawyer Ayenini and Mr. Frederick Addo. At this point, we are going to open the stage for questioning. Please, if you have a question to ask, raise your hand on your screen so we can pick you up one at a time. Or you can also type your question and I will read it out loud for any, answers that are needed. And please direct the question directly to the speaker if it's Dr. Boateng, Lawyer Ayenini, or Dr. Frederick Addo, if you asking your question. Any hands up? If anybody currently, I don't see any hands up. Oh, Dr. Kofi, okay.
Yes, I'll get us started. And my question is to Lawyer Yenini, which is, please explain to us what I think you hinted regarding those working in the embassies for the 2020 elections, because I specifically asked Bossman that question. I think I forwarded it to you, whether those were going to vote, and he specifically said, no way. I want to know whether that has in the night become yes way.
Can I proceed?
Yes.
Right. The law that governs the elections for this year is a new law. It's the Public Election Regulations 2020. It was passed just not long before the registration exercises that went on in the country. And it provides, among others, that there ought to be a certain group of lists that is to be provided on election day. And the list includes a special voters list. This special voters list covers members of the security agencies who must vote ahead of the day of elections, so that on the day of elections, they will have time to do their work. It includes the media. Then you have the proxy lists. Traditionally, what Ghanaians who are working with the missions abroad have been voting also by the same process. So once I identify that the law makes provision for proxies, I am tempted to come to that conclusion unless there is evidence to the contrary that that class of Ghanaians that the court held, that allowing them to continue to exercise the right to vote from the various missions and embassies, whilst Ghanaians like yourselves are disallowed, was discriminatory in the face of the constitutional provisions, particularly as regards the fundamental human rights, which must be enjoyed equally. And the way you even commenced your presentation in a very lawyerly fashion, the Constitution's provision for who should vote does not have any color. So it is looking at CI 127 2020. That brings me to the irresistible conclusion, in the absence of any facts to the contrary, that nothing has changed. The status quo ante remains. So I prefer not to take the word of a commission member unless I have seen the evidence to that effect. And again, they have said things that seeking to verify, which is supposed to be very easy to verify, seeking to verify, I have been unable to confirm the things they have said. I have had the opportunity of asking the Electoral Commission members directly, and I have been told that the reason ROPA is not on the front burner, something they say they have already done their part of the job, and it is left with Parliament to do the rest of the work. The Electoral Commission's Director of Electoral Activities, Dr. Srebo Kweku, told me on Newsfile that they needed the buy-in of the NDC and the NPP, the political parties, to be able to implement it. To the extent that they presently don't have their sort of consensus buy-in, it is difficult to proceed. So I do not expect a commission that says we have put a CI in Parliament and it is Parliament's job. And when a CI goes to Parliament, by our Constitution again, it stays there for 21 sitting days. That's it, and it becomes law. The Parliament is not allowed to tweak it. The law does not allow them to tweak whatever is submitted to them. So when was it tabled in Parliament? I'm done.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Lawyer Ayenini. Anybody have a question? Mr. Echo, please proceed. Yeah, your voice is low.
Unmute yourself. We can't hear you.
Hello?
Yes.
You can hear
You
me
can
now.
hear me now.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. My question is,
of
all
all
that
is being
is being said,
it shows
it
that
shows that
we are not
we are
going
not
to
going
vote.
to vote.
Ghanaians
Ghanaians
living
living in
abroad
abroad
are not
are
going
not
to
going
vote,
to vote,
which
which
is
is
understandable
understandable
by all
by
the
all the
circumstances
circumstances
that is
that
being
is
said.
being said.
So,
So
my
my
question
question
is,
is,
what is
what
the
is the
way
way
forward?
forward?
Are we
Are
going
we
to
going
vote
to vote
during the
through
next
the next
election,
election,
that's
that's
2024?
2024?
And if
And
it's
if
so
it's so
or
or
not,
not,
what is
what
the
is
way
the way
forward?
forward?
What
What
are
are
we
we
exactly
exactly
supposed to
supposed
do?
to do?
If I may
If I may
ask.
ask.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And that's actually the critical question at this point, because it is too late in the day to be going back to the question regarding whether or not you will be able to vote on the 7th of December. Irrespective of the fact that what is happening is a very, very grave sin against the Constitution, and to the extent that it is a disobedience of the orders of the courts. That's an aberration. That should not happen. Let's not forget one thing, that the suit was not against only the Electoral Commission as Electoral Commission qua commission. The suit was against the Electoral Commission and the Attorney General representing the government of Ghana. So the wrong being done now in disrespecting the orders of the court and the judgment of the court is not one that is only by the Electoral Commission, but by the government, which is a defendant which was sued in this matter. Now, when the Electoral Commission came to the court to beg and plead for one more year window to be able to put the constitutional instrument in Parliament to allow you to register and then to vote in 2020, it gave reasons for which the court gave the decision, and this is what the court said. I need to quote a portion of it. We had strongly objected to every reason the Electoral Commission gave and persuaded the court that everything had been deliberate and that the Electoral Commission was treating the court with such levity that it needed to be punished. Remember, we actually proceeded to cite the commission members for contempt of court, asking the court to imprison them, to teach them a lesson, or to exact fines from them if it was not going to imprison them. In the end, when the court said, well, they had not been deliberate, and that the things that had happened in the previous commission gave cause for this commission to be given the opportunity of time to work. It then said they should only pay 8,000 Ghana cedis to us or to you. The court said that it had examined the evidence before it, and it appeared to the court that there is no complaint about the logistics and resources to undertake the exercise. Please, let's note that there is no complaint about the Electoral Commission, about the logistics and the resources to undertake the exercise. Remember that all along, this had been the major complaint of the Electoral Commission. How are we going to go to the whole world? Where are we going to get the resources from to do all of this? We told the court that the Electoral Commission was not the executive branch of government. The Electoral Commission was not Parliament. The Electoral Commission had not put any budget before Parliament seeking approval to do ROPA and had been told that the state did not have money to fund the process. So the Electoral Commission was unable to continue to complain using the logistic and resources complaint. Therefore, the only thing that was left was simply to put the CI before Parliament. That's all it was to do. Has it put the CI before Parliament? I have checked and drawn blank. So, my proposal from a legal standpoint will be that we clearly will need to go back to the courts. If a court makes orders and the orders are disobeyed, it is only the court that can assert its integrity so that it is not insulted in the manner that we find now. Is the Electoral Commission capable of returning to this court and adducing the very same reasons that it did not do anything deliberate to disobey the orders of the court if the Electoral Commission is cited back to the court again? So the way forward, knowing what I know, that PAM has written many times to the Electoral Commission and has not been dignified with a simple acknowledgement of the correspondence. I know that Dr. Kofi Boateng has reached out to the Attorney General's department, and it has just been the lip service refrain of "we are on it." It is being done beyond showing the concrete evidence of exactly what work is being done. So you will be left with no option than to get back to the court. You do not have the power of the states. And if you had guns, you will be committing a crime if you pointed them to the heads of the Electoral Commission members for not doing what they had been ordered to do. So the path forward will be to go back to the court, report to the court that its orders have been disobeyed. Therefore, it has the powers to enforce them and watch the court to enforce them. You may not do that if soon enough the Electoral Commission lays out a roadmap, including a clear exhibition of the CI and a confirmation that it has been put in Parliament and the days, 21 days, have started to run. Otherwise, I cannot see what reason they will give.
Thank you, Lawyer Ayenini. I see a hand up, Mr. James. Mr. James?
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Catherine. And it's evening here in Finland. So,
All right.
I'm sure I can, if I'm allowed to greet, evening.
Right.
Yeah, I think, following this whole ROPA discussions and everything, I feel, one can only feel disappointed, because, the EC has obviously demonstrated that it is not committed in any way to implementing ROPA. And as Samson also rightly pointed out, the EC, I don't know how the EC decided to check its responsibility by saying that it needs some kind of green light from the political parties to implement ROPA. It does not lie in the mouth of any political party to determine whether Ghanaians living abroad should vote or not. And so, for me, my major concern is, I wish we could go to court by 9th December, because if we are going to wait and say that EC is ever going to submit any constitutional instrument to Parliament, we may wait forever. Because I remember several conversation that has gone on between Dr. Kofi Boateng and Godfrey Odame, and every time he comes to tell us that, oh, we are working on it, we have seen the CI, we are fine tuning it. I don't know, it's like people are just playing games. So for me, I don't think there's any time left on our hands. If we delay any further, the EC will go to court and give all manner of excuses. And if you're not careful, the court may also admit all those excuses, just as they did a year ago, when they told the court that they couldn't submit the CI because of the creation of new regions and the shake-up in the Electoral Commission and the District Assembly election. So I think the earlier we went back to court, the better. Right now, it's like we have run out of options. We don't have the government support. We don't have support of political parties. The only place we can rely on is the court. And I don't think we should wait any further. This is my simple submission.
Thank you.
Hello, Catherine, can I come in?
Your name?
Ivy.
Oh, Ivy.
Yeah, I've been listening to the, though I'm not on the panel, but I just want one slight observation. To me, the way the whole thing seems as if the EC and the Attorney General's department they are in cahoots, because if the Attorney General said they are on it and the EC said he sent a CI to Parliament, you could see the EC is not working alone. There must be somebody behind it who is actually creating all these delays. So I think something we need to, look beyond what you just said. So that, if we are blaming the EC alone, I don't think that's fair. I think it's the government. There's the government behind it. There's somebody behind it who is not allowing the EC to do its work, to coming up with all these lies. So I would suggest we shouldn't wait till December 7th. We should start now. We need to call the EC out the way, what for what it is. So we shouldn't wait till December 9th before we start the process. It needs to be started. We need to start it now. That's my take on the whole thing.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ivy. There's a question I wanted to read to maybe that speakers will help us. So that's Cindy Chairway. So if for all Ghanaians, that this include those who have naturalized in the country of residence allowed to vote, I think what it meant is all Ghanaians living in abroad, once this is passed, I guess we are allowed to vote. Mr. Augustine, you said you wanted to ask a question. I see it here. So far, I haven't seen any hands up, but Mr. Augustine texted he want to ask a question. So Mr. Augustine, go ahead. I see you.
Yeah, hello. Good afternoon. Good evening to everybody. My question is directed to Samson. Samson, I heard you well, and you have partially answered part of my question in your last speech. So as it is now, it is not any extenuating circumstance like the COVID environment that prevented the EC from implementing the judgment of the court. As you also said, one of the commissioners narrated to you privately that all that they needed was a buy-in from the NDC and the MPP. Since it was said in private, I'm sure you cannot use this in court. But is there any way you could get a commissioner to state this officially so that you can use it against the EC in court?
All right, about that statement was made publicly, not privately.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but it is a statement that is not strange coming from the Electoral Commission, because it appears to be the default that they would often use. You mentioned that there are no extenuating circumstances and covered cannot also be used, except that regrettably, all across the globe, covered is a good excuse in any court, in any matter, in any court for any government. Covered has become the one single excuse that courts easily will grant any government for not performing a particular activity. I would hasten to add that COVID cannot be used as an excuse for the non-promulgation of the CI, because you need the CI before you can embark on the activities for registration and then for the voting itself. So you can raise COVID as an excuse for not embarking on the registration activities abroad and for not embarking on the voting abroad. But you need the CI before you could even go to do registration and to allow for voting. So you cannot use COVID as an excuse for not putting the instrument in Parliament and for Parliament to pass it. When the EC went back to court, so now this matter has been dealt in court by 3 different judges. First, the judge who heard the original case and gave the judgment in favor of the applicants. And second, the same courts, differently constituted, even at the time when Justice Anthony Yeboah was still alive. Justice Abudakwi, Nicholas Abudakwi, was very clear that once there was no logistical and resource constraints, they don't have any excuse not to proceed with the processes. However, he said this, and I quote, "After waiting for so long, I see a renewed determination to comply with the law, given the request that has been made by the applicant." Who was he speaking to? He was saying in this ruling, when the Electoral Commission asked for an extension, that they had demonstrated a renewed determination to comply with the law. And then he said, I have not found a calculated attempt to disobey the court. And the Electoral Commission is an institution acting through its officers who have changed over the years. The Electoral Commission of today is not exactly the Electoral Commission 30 years previously. This court, placing reliance on the rules of court that empowers a judge to extend or abridge time for an act or step to be taken grants the request of the Electoral Commission for 1 more year to bring the CI. Here is a point where I say I cannot fathom any further excuse that they can give when they go to court. Here is a court that looked at them and said, you have come to demonstrate renewed determination. Therefore, let's give you 1 more year. You have come to demonstrate renewed determination, and the court says, we cannot see that there is a calculated attempt to disobey the court, and that there is a willingness to comply with the law. Here we are. There's not a compliance with the court orders, and there's clearly not a willingness to comply with the law. What excuse can you give for not having the CI being placed in Parliament? Once the CI hits Parliament, please let's remember this. Once the CI hits Parliament, 21 sitting days, and it becomes law. Parliament cannot vary it. They cannot change anything in the CI. If the CI had in fact hit Parliament, when did it hit Parliament? It would have matured upon 21 days. Unless it was put in Parliament a few days before the House rose, went on break. Yes, I'm done.
Thank you very much. I can see Mr. Obedankwa hand up. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, all participants, and all that is said. Very, very clear. We all been very patient. We fought this fight so many years, battles here and there, and then we solicited for funds through Ghanaian communities and funded how to go to the court through our lawyer. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I've heard so much language, so much law quotations from our lawyer, Ayinini. I have three questions. Lawyer Samson, you represent ROPA. Good?
That's right.
Lawyer Ayini, you represent Jill Mensah. Charlotte, former EC Charlotte Osei. You represent her?
No.
You don't?
No.
Charlotte Osei, you didn't represent her on her
No.
case?
Never.
No.
But we read it on the media.
No, he even had a case against.
No, I didn't ask you who is answering the question. I'm asking our lawyer.
Hello, please ask the question and allow the speaker to answer. So go ahead and ask your question.
I don't want. Excuse me.
Let me explain to Obed. Obed, let me explain to you in a minute.
Okay.
Let me give you the clarity.
Okay, thank you.
I represented Abdul Malik Kweku Bako in the Supreme Court against the removal of Charlotte Osei. I did not represent Charlotte Osei. I have never represented Charlotte Osei.
Noted. Okay, noted. Now, there's so much legal terms regards CI, these. I don't know the number of people who are lawyers on this. I am not a lawyer. We rely on you as our lawyer for all we want to achieve. Fine, you did well. We won our cases. Now, the last question is, we were notified were notified that Ghanaians at embassies all over the world, missionaries, students, whatever, will not be able to vote because of our injunction that we were trying to place on EC. Now, there's a leakage, not a leakage, but we are now reading from you that Ghanaians, embassies, all working in embassies everywhere are going to vote. Now, COVID, or how were they registered? How were they registered to vote? Was there no COVID then? The electoral commissions that traveled by air, was there no COVID to register the embassy? Now, the documents that was signed that all embassy staff will not be vote. We want to have a copy. And how it was released that they cannot vote, we want a copy.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Obed. Lawyer Yenini, please.
I'm not sure there's any document released that anybody is going to vote. I have just read the law and interpreted the law to you that as far as I'm concerned.
That is all you guys do. Law.
Yes.
As far as I'm concerned, the status quo remains until I have seen any facts to the contrary. I have not read any document that said Ghanaians abroad will not vote. Ghanaians in missions and embassies will not vote. And I've not read any other documents like he refers to that has been leaked that says that they will now vote.
Thank you. Mr. David, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thank you very much, everyone on the platform, including our lawyer. We also thank you for your hard work. Based on what we have said right now, earlier we planned to put an injunction on the upcoming election. Now, is it too late, or we still have a way forward to do so?
Thank you. You done? Lawyer.
There is no lateness as regards when you want to put your foot back in the courts. If you want to get back in the court, all you are doing is reporting to the court that its orders have not been complied with and that the law is being violated. Contrary to the court's belief, which I read portions to you a while ago, that the EC had a renewed determination to comply with the law and that there was no calculated attempt to disobey the court. So if you are going back to the court, you are simply going back to the court to complain that the law has not been complied with. Number two, the judgment or orders of the court have also not been complied with. And then you leave it in the hands of the court to make a determination and for the Electoral Commission to bring its reasons why the court should listen to it and not punish it or make further orders in respect of this matter. It is never late. At any point in time, you can mount a return to the court, except that I will say at this particular time, it will be clearly not convenient until after the elections.
Thank you. Before we proceed, I see Mr. James' hands up. Is anyone else before I lend Mr. James a call for these two people? So, Mr. James, I come through, then Mr. Cole, then we'll let the speakers have their closing remarks so we can move ahead. Thank you. Mr. James.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is probably my last statement.
Okay.
I think I have the simple question. This question probably should have come after we have seen the CI, but then I know there are a lot of Ghanaians living abroad who want to have access to this thing. It's a legal issue. You know, there are a lot of Ghanaians living in countries which do not allow dual citizenship. And so, you know, get an opportunity to speak with you something. I want to know your take on it. In a country abroad where Ghanaians are not allowed, or Ghanaians are supposed to denounce their Ghanaian citizenship, are such people allowed to participate in the elections if ROPA is implemented?
Okay, thank you, Mr. James.
If you are a dual citizen, you have not lost your Ghanaianness. You have not lost your Ghanaian citizenship. You can vote. You can be part of everything that a Ghanaian is entitled to. But once you renounce your Ghanaian citizenship, you have lost it. Therefore, you will not pass the first and major threshold. One who is entitled to vote and for which must be registered must be a Ghanaian of 18 years or above and of sound mind.
Okay, Mr. Ekomaika, please unmute yourself and come on.
Yeah, I just want to ask. So I heard last day we go back to the court and request for whatever we are to request. I just want to ask, how soon do we need to go to court in respect of Ghanaians living abroad to be able to vote 2024 election? How soon do we need to go to court? Thank you. Thank you.
Any time after December 7, I will recommend that if you want to go back to the courts, any time after the elections. For this present time, I will say very bluntly that there is no practical reason to go to the court before the elections. No court is going to have time to even entertain any application before the elections. We have to be pragmatic in the way we approach it. As we speak now, it is clearly out of the way. It is clearly not possible to make any arguments for being included in any process for the 7th December elections. The last time the EC came to the court to beg for extra time, they gave 3 reasons. They didn't give only one reason. Their first reason was that they had leadership challenges. I'm supposed we are all aware of the challenges that they face, even though we felt that those reasons were not good enough, because as an institution, they ought to work without giving that excuse. We actually told the court that that institution was not made up of only Charlotte Osei and the 2 deputies who were in trouble. There are many as 7 or more of them there. So we told the court that was not a good enough reason. The reason number 2 they gave was that they were involved in the assignment of creating 6 new regions. And they said that had affected their ability to concentrate on any other things. And the final reason they gave, of course, that second reason, we contested it also, because the judgment and the orders of the court were given long before they talk about creating new regions. And yet, there was no evidence to show what effort had been made to comply with the orders of the court that had been secured long before the project of creating new regions had come. Then the third and final reason they gave was that they had then resolved the leadership challenge and had set up an implementation committee which was supposed to spearhead, have a focus to ensure that ROPA was going to be implemented. They said they had set up a committee. This, in fact, is what gave Justice Abudakwe the hope and faith to discount our arguments against the Electoral Commission and rather take the path of the Electoral Commission by saying that he had seen a renewed commitment and also that he had not seen any calculated attempt to disobey the courts or not to comply with the law.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to ask a question before we proceed? So,
Yes. Kate?
Oh, yes, Mr. Kwame Fosu.
Yeah.
I can hear your voice. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Thank you all for coming.
Okay.
Lawyer Ayenin, my layman's question is, after the December 7th election, can we know, can you and Pam know where the CI is? And is there any way the EC can start compiling a provisional voters registers for GLH for the 2024 election? That is my layman's question to you.
Right. The Electoral Commission will not have any legal capacity to commence a process in compiling a register of glass, whether interim or however designated. The Electoral Commission can only proceed on the basis of law. Without law, it has no capacity to make any such attempt. The law that will give it the power to begin anything by way of compiling a register will be the CI, which the court has ordered it to take to Parliament for it to become law. Until and unless that has been put into Parliament and 21 days of Parliament sitting has elapsed and same becomes matured as law, the Electoral Commission has absolutely no power to attempt to do any such thing. In fact, it will be engaging in a lawless exercise if it attempted any such thing. On your question of whether we should find out if it has done so, I would think that maybe you joined us a bit late, but the inquiry made so far suggests that it is only the Electoral Commission that knows where it took that CI, if in fact it has taken one to Parliament.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We've been here for some time now, and I guess
there's still a hand up. Obed still has his hand up.
Oh, Obed. Oh, sorry, I didn't see. Obed, you have your hands up? Unmute yourself. Obed, unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is our first Zoom big time program like this, and our lawyer Samson was on it with us. He said a lot. I'm just, I'm a bit disappointed. I have to be very blunt. I'm disappointed. All that is being quoted with all the languages, the English, I'm a bit disappointed. Quote me anywhere, because we contracted him as our lawyer.
Hello?
He's muted, so you can't hear anything he's saying. I can't hear anything after after talking about his disappointment. I can't hear anything else he said because he was muted.
Yes, thank you. I think you try to come back again. Mr. David, please come up.
Nasiru has been trying to ask a question. If you can please unmute him, because he's been trying to get on and he called me. So if there's a way of you letting him get his question through, please.
Please, he's not on the Zoom. So everybody is in the Zoom here. So I don't know when.
Can you hear me now again? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so let me conclude, okay?
Conclude, thank you.
We don't have any legal backgrounds. I don't have any legal backgrounds. That is why we contacted a legal person to lead us. So every step on the way, we have to be informed what to do. We don't wait to the last moment to pile up so much stuff and be bombarded with all this CI, whatever. I am saying it, and I'll say it everywhere. I am disappointed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so briefly to Obed, and Obed, very sincerely, you don't have to be agitated. And I must be very blunt with you that there is absolutely no basis for your agitation. The number one thing you have to know, let me state this very clearly. Once you engage counsel and he does the work and he gets to judgments, his job is done. Speaking to you now, you are actually supposed to pay me for my service, because as we speak now, I am not your lawyer. Unless you hire me to do the next work for you, I am not your lawyer. I am not on a retainer. I am not on a retainer where you pay me for a retainer service. You hired me to do a specific job. My firm did that job. Our job is practically done. If a next thing comes up, you need to rehire, and then we go ahead and do it for you. We are very committed. And we have done the job we have done so far with the best of our professional expertise.
Thank you, laddie. Thank you.
Passionately. Once you acknowledge that I'm a lawyer and I am interacting with you, the only unique thing I can bring to the discussion is my expertise, which is law. So when I am referring to the law, there is nothing else I can refer to. And that's the reason I say you don't have to be agitated. My learning is in the law, and I live working with the law. If you engage me to use the law. If I'm quoting the law to you, that's the only thing I know to do.
Okay. Kima, I think we should move to conclude the meeting.
This is Nasir. Can you hear me?
After Nasiru. Go ahead, Nasiru.
Good evening, sir. Yeah, good evening, sir. So sorry, I've been trying to get online. I've heard the whole program from beginning, but I was trying to ask a question, but I guess I was muted. I hope you're all doing great. One question goes to Samson, Lawyer Samson, and it's a quick one. From the discussion, I realized that this whole issue lies between the two political parties in Ghana, which is the NDC and the MPP. is it right if I say that the only way forward now is to lobby those two parties or explain ourselves better to those two parties, that is NDC and MPP, to understand that this whole idea of ROPA is not going to affect them as political parties? Because one thing we've realized is that they're kind of scared that it will be used to rig the election in the favor of whoever is in power. So, Lawyer Sampson, will I be right to say that we should be trying to lobby both NDC and MPP for them to really understand what ROPA entails? Thank you very much.
All right, so I'll be acting rather naive to suggest that when you are dealing with matters of law, there may not be the soft issues and there may not be the need to engage beyond the strict legal approach. Only a very inexperienced lawyer will think that way. But on this note, on this issue, I'm sorry to disappoint you. The political parties, they exist because laws allow them to exist. They ought not be determining this path. There is a law, and sometimes I struggle to understand why in this dear country of ours, laws are passed and citizens have to go to court to compel the government to enforce the law. A law like the domestic violence, law, very good law to support people who suffer domestic violence, was passed in 2007. That's just a year after, the amendment to ROPA that gives Ghanaians living abroad the opportunity to vote was done. It was only recently that a friend of mine, Martin Pebu, went to the court to compel the enforcement of that law, particularly as regards the establishment of a domestic violence victim support fund to help people who suffer domestic violence and who cannot be expected to live with the abusers or the perpetrators. There are other situations like that where laws have been passed and yet the citizens have to go to court, seek compelling orders from the court to compel the same state government that passed the law to enforce the law it passed. This must not be happening to ROPA. The two parties continue to pay lip service to being committed to ensuring that Ghanaians living abroad also exercise their rights as Ghanaians to vote. When we went to court, we gathered the evidence from Kufuor to Atamils to Mahama, and we showed the courts. In fact, whilst we were still in court, before the court eventually pronounced on the matter, the new president, Akufo-Addo, has started making public pronouncements about his commitment to ROPA. And we drew the court's attention to that. So what do they want when they say they need to be convinced to be brought in? I think the Electoral Commission has no excuse. Presently, things have gone on in this country where the opposition party has accused the Electoral Commission of not involving them at the IPAD. The Electoral Commission has been very blunt in telling the parties that the Electoral Commission is an independent constitutional body and that it will not take instructions from any political party. It is right. On this note, the Electoral Commission must be seen to assert its independence. it must be seen not to say that until and unless somebody else agrees. Agrees to what? There is a law that says you are entitled to vote from wherever you are, and therefore you must be enabled to vote. The way to enable you to vote is to register you. But before you can be registered, there must be a CI. Promulgate the CI. That's all there is to it. So my expectation is that the EC will assert its independence the same way it comes up with that as a defense when the political parties are not happy with it and wants it to consider certain things and it doesn't want to consider them.
Thank you. At this point, like I said, we are drawing to the closing line. I see Mr. David hand up, but please hold on for a second and let's call Cindy Chawe. Then after that, Mr. David, then hand over to our speakers to give a closing remarks. Then I will close at the end. Thank you. Cindy.
Yeah, all right. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you, Kimama, and the rest of the group that, had organized this meeting. That's my first time really attending.
Sorry, unmute yourself.
Okay. Am I good now?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, what I said was this is my first time coming or attending a hearing like this, and I have to very well say that I appreciate it and thank you all the organizers and those leading this course. What I just want to say is I'm now learning. I haven't been involved or following the process, but I know some people are getting agitated, and I just want to appeal that let us be very patient. Issues or course like this, it's not overnight. It takes time. We hope that one day, as we are pushing it, it will come to pass. And you, those who led at the forefront, your names will never be forgotten. And like the lawyer said, I have to stand on behalf of that my brother or my uncle or maybe my father that spoke. Sometimes, with issues, people, we all wish that we could do it. So we get emotional, so we say things that might, be hurtful or maybe coming out too strong. But listening to you, I appreciate you, the lawyer. I want to tell that I personally appreciate you and all the work that you are doing and pushing on it. Hope that you wouldn't leave us, halfway, but the next steps that will be taken or you will guide us to take, we are all behind, and we hope that you will move forward with us and eventually it will come into fruitfulness and it will be implemented. Thank you, Kimama, for the opportunity. Thank you all.
At this point, I'd like to call Mr. Frederick to elaborate more since the beginning. You just,
Yes, thank you very much, Kimama. The ROPA ambassadors are a group of Ghanaians living abroad in over 50 countries, from the American continent through Europe, Asia, and Africa too. And we've understood that the electoral commissioner or commission always try to have excuses. I think they got the nice excuse of COVID-19. That lawyer also explained that COVID-19 has been the best excuse for all governments. And in addition to that, there are still certain excuses that the Electoral Commission uses, logistics. We as ROPA ambassadors made a written suggestion, and we met the Deputy Commissioner to elaborate and also explain how we can collaborate to help create a data in collaboration with various Ghana missions. And currently on our roadmap, we've also decided to influence the Ghana National Identification Authority to implement his mandate to issue the new Ghana identification card. In their roadmap, they were supposed to issue the new identification card to Ghanaians living abroad. And there's no excuse. So after the election, we will be going ahead to make sure all Ghanaians living abroad have been issued their Ghana identification card, which is also a step forward towards a future election, which is 2024. Currently, various Ghana missions don't have a complete data of Ghanaians, and we believe that the new Ghana identification card could help build better data towards maybe 2024 Ghana elections. And the new Ghana identification card could be used as a voter's ID in 2024. So maybe we can try to solve such issues in addition to taking the Electoral Commission to court after the general elections. We have also other concerns concerning the eligibility of Ghanaians living abroad. I think someone asked a question concerning those having different nationality. I think the lawyer answered. But we are also having certain Ghanaians who are not in that category, but who don't have a valid passport. Maybe in the registration process, they can make sure in the CI, they could also accept those having passport maybe expired, because due to COVID, most Ghana missions are not able to renew Ghanaian passports. And we are also having those who arrived abroad 30 years, 40 years back, who haven't renewed their passports too. So all these issues should be tackled to not disenfranchise certain Ghanaians living abroad in the future registration for the national identification card. I finished my conclusion for this forum.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we move on to Dr. Boateng, Obed, please come on. Thank you, Mr. Frederick. David, sorry. David.
I thank you all very much, fellow Ghanaians who are on this platform. My first question is this: to make our lawyers work very easy, if we should include international bodies who take charge of voting right, would that help you? Secondly, should there be a change in government as Ghana votes? Is that going to affect our process? Now, the last part is this: since I don't want to come back on this line again, I thank each and every one of you, wherever you are, either US, abroad, Europe, wherever you are, for taking the time and getting on board, because this is a lot of work. Now, it's not just for the RUPA ambassadors and PAM. The load is very heavy, and wherever you are, if you spread the message abroad and let your fellow Ghanaian know about us, it will help a lot. As we go forward, you know we're going to be engaging our lawyer once again to go to court on our behalf, which involves money. Pretty soon, there will be a need for us to raise funds once again to take our case back to court. And every way we can support to help this mission be a successful one will be good. So I would say, do not leave without leaving your contacts, but let's have your contacts and put our heads together as we push Ghana's way forward towards winning our case. I thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you, David. Mr. Kofi Boateng.
Well, once again, I think David pretty much summed it up. But again, we meaning all of us are Progressive Alliance Movement and RUPA ambassadors, we thank ourselves and all of you. I think the important thing out of this is that we are showing to ourselves that this is an important matter, that we are all willing to put our shoulders to the wheel and make it see success. Yes, I see a lot of us also asking for patience, but patience has to be accompanied by action. And Samson said it best when he said, he's not naive as a lawyer to think that everything is going to be accomplished only in the courts. A lot of you know that I write a lot of articles on this subject, and we are going to continue. I'm going to write something about this forum that we've had here to let the world know that, yes, we've launched a very important activity, part of the goal. I'm pleased to know that my son, my older son, Lieutenant Colonel Kwame Boateng, and his family have joined us again to show them how important this issue is to our second and third generations. And they're asking about when their own children can vote in Ghana's elections. So we have to deepen the well for all of us. I have been at this thing for 15 years now. So when Obed expresses disappointment and frustration, Samson, he's really not targeting you. He's targeting the abject discrimination that we have been experiencing. He's targeting the contempt that our governments and institutions like the Electoral Commission and Attorney General's office have displayed towards us. I could speak forever on those because I have been the recipient of these contemptuous actions on their part. That's what Obed is expressing. We thank you, Samson, for the work that you've done. It has established our course, and we are going to continue. You and I communicate fairly often, and we will continue to do so. We appreciate everything that the legal lead that you have given. We are aware that you are not on retainer with us, but we are also appreciative that whenever we call you, such as today, you are here to jump in and help us along. And so we appreciate it very much. And the frustration, again, is not targeted at you, but targeted at our country and the process, the deliberate and egregious discrimination that they've been throwing our way. We shall overcome. As the U.S. Civil Rights Movement came up, they fought hard. Dr. Martin Luther King and Cole were bitten by dogs, jailed and everything before they secured the Voters Act, the Civil Rights Act for African Americans to vote. And guess what? Had they not done that and suffered through the consequences, somebody called Barack Obama would never have been president. Somebody called Kamala Harris would never be vice president of the United States. So we are on the right track. This is what we are not being jailed. We are not being bitten by dogs, but we are being equally punished by them forcing us to wait and taking us through the lies. And that's all par for the course because nobody gives up power on a silver platter, as they say. So that frustration is what Obed has expressed on our behalf. In the end, it's all good. We are all family. There are going to be more of these forums. We are going to try to do one at least twice a year. It's a great idea that David Amano, our secretary, came up with, and we are all very happy that we've been able to do this. Samson, you have got a chance to get a taste of what PAM is about. You have had a chance to see how serious and dedicated we are. And you've also got a chance to see how emotional we are about the subject, only because of the dribbling that our country has put us through. So I thank you all. It's not the last word. Heed to David's call for contributions for all of us. We will be in contact with all of you and the way forward. And Yenara Assassini, Yebe Biatuaso. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to ask that our lawyer has a closing remarks before he leaves. So please unmute yourself and give us.
All right. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be able to share, particularly the paths going forward. And even when we have to come to a discussion to agree as to what to do, my first approach will not be to straight away launch yet another legal attack. My approach will be for us to officially demand the roadmap with clear timelines to be executed by both the EC and the government, who are defendants in the case. And we will do so, I suggest, we will do so also giving them timelines within which to meet our demands. And when they fail, refuse, or neglect to comply, then it will be good to hit the court, because that certainly will be our only recourse to vindicate the judgment of the court and the law as passed by the representatives of the people in Parliament. Myself and my team, we are always ready and willing to once again put our expertise at your disposal and to commit ourselves to finish off this particular fight. We are proud to be part of the history. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lawyer Ayenini. And on behalf of Progressive Alliance Movement, I would like to thank everyone that took the time to stay with us almost 2 hours now. But I'll also encourage you that visit the Progressive Alliance Movement website, www.palmonline.org. Please register with us so you have updates that we post. If it touches your heart, now you know that we have to return back to the court when needed. And we will need your support, financially support. And also spread the word, as our board member, David, mentioned. I'd like to thank you all very much that this is not going to be the end. This is the beginning of the fight. Once again, my name is Catherine Kujo. God bless you all. And please share the feed to everyone to know about this movement, Progressive Alliance Movement. Pam, thank you very much and have a good evening wherever your location is. Thank you and God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. And
thank you all. Thank you all for coming. Thank you very much, Samson. Thank you all of you in Europe. It's getting late for you all. Thank you for making the time. And all of you in the US, everybody. And Catherine, thank you a lot. You did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
You look good today too, as always. Fantastic. Great, great, great. All the board members of PAM, we thank you all for supporting and coming through. Thank you all. Have a good rest of the weekend.